So let me ask you this. The problem about finding people who have a strong work ethic is you don't really know whether they do until after you've hired them. So, what are some ways in the interview process we can vet a potential new hire to see whether they have the work ethic that we are looking for around these 7 core values? Do you have any suggestions around that?
Yeah, Darren, you bring up a really interesting point. I'm so glad you went into it. A number of the managers and the leaders that I present for ask a similar question. They go, "Hey, the person that I interviewed and the person that showed up for work were two different people." And I want to go, you know why? Because you didn't interview them. You interviewed their parents or a book. Now you think about it. Anybody that has a teenage kid, and again, we're not just talking about teenagers, but let's use that as an explanation here because you can extrapolate this to any age employee, right? So a person that is applying for a job, what happens? They get advice. They're probably going to get advice. Teenage kids are going to get advice from their parents. Okay, so the parents going to sit down and go, yeah, I've been through a gazillion interviews. Here's what they're going to ask you. Where do you expect to be in 5 years? Tell me your strengths, your weaknesses, blah, 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 blah. They go on. And they say, these are the questions. Now, let's go through a mock interview. Let's talk about what you're going to say when they ask you this. And we prepare them for the interview. Unfortunately, we don't prepare them for the job, just the interview. So what happens is most managers go out, conduct an interview, and what you're doing is you're not interviewing the person that's sitting in front of you. You're interviewing the source that told them how to prepare. Now, maybe that's one of the gazillion books out now that tell you how to interview. There's YouTube videos. Here's what they're going to ask. Here's how you should answer. So any age, any level, there's coaching. There are, how many executive search firms out there that get paid based upon finding the right candidate. They know what the client is looking for, and you know what? They're going to prep the person who's going in for an interview so they know how to respond to the questions. So it's kind of a spy versus spy. Darren, the best way to handle that is to ask experiential type questions. Don't just ask them, where do you expect to be in the next 5 years? And you can't sit down and say, well, we only hire honest people here. Are you honest? Yeah, because who's going to answer no? The reality is, tell me about a time that you were really challenged, when you were tempted, where it meant, standing up for what was right or telling the truth, or being 100% honest in the situation meant you could sacrifice. There was going to be a sacrifice. Tell me about something that happened and how you handle that choice. Those are the kinds of questions that reveal how somebody is going to handle a situation. What are they really saying? What are you looking for here? So let's talk about reliability. You don't just say, hey, we need people who are going to show up on time. Are you a punctual person? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a punctual person. Instead, tell me about a time where you were really running late, and how you handle it. What did you do? If I went and interviewed your teachers right now and asked them on a scale of 1 to 10 about your punctuality, about what would they say? And do you think it's really that big of a deal? I mean, being a few minutes late. I mean, seriously, is it that big of a deal? I mean, if you get the gist of the class and you're not interrupting anybody else, I mean, would you think being late is a big deal? I'm going to ask questions. I'm not trying to trick anybody. I want to get to how they really feel, what they're really going to do in these situations. And I want to ask questions that they're not prepared to answer, because that's going to reveal their true core values.